These are Sony's WH-1000XM3 headphones, and for the past 2 years, they've been the best ANC headphones you can buy. Sony have just released the new Mark IV, a successor to the Mark IIIs, which offer a handful of small improvements to refine and optimise the user experience. In this video, we'll be covering everything that's changed and all of the new features, to assess just how good the new headphones are. Unsurprisingly, this will be one of the easiest reviews I've ever had to make, because with Sony's new Mark IV headphones, the best just got better. Let's take a look. Sony have kept things simple with the design of the new Mark IVs, which you could easily mistake for the previous Mark IIIs. The headband, ear cups, and the graphite-coloured accents have been replaced with a subtly darker finish, but the contrasting copper accents still remain. The NFC logo is now embossed into the ear cup too, but otherwise the design will be very familiar, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. The design essentially remains minimal, but is now more subtle than the previous model, and as you'd expect from a flagship pair of headphones, the build quality is fantastic. The foldable ear cups make these a very travel-friendly companion, especially since Sony is still including the flight adapter in the carrying case, which itself has a slightly darker finish than the Mark III's case. This is still one of my favourite carrying cases. It offers good protection for the headphones and the included accessories, is a relatively compact size, and has a classy and premium looking design too. The headphones still offer excellent flexibility for pivoting and rotating, and the design just feels as though it's been optimised for comfort. Extending the headband smoothly ratchets over each notch to suit all head sizes, and the arc of the headband creates a very low clamping force at the sides of your head, something that a lot of headphones fail to achieve. There's a decent amount of padding in the headband to reduce pressure at the crown, and the ear cups still use that super soft leatherette material over the ear cushions, which thanks to a slight increase in thickness, feel even more plush than ever before. But my favourite thing is how spacious the ear cups are, which are large and deep enough to allow your ears room to breathe, which helps reduce warming over time. The controls and ports are largely carried over from the previous model, which Sony sensibly splits over both ear cups. Far too often, you see headphones with all of the ports and controls crammed onto one ear cup, which become much more difficult to access, but these controls are comfortable and easy to use. The power and noise cancelling buttons get a new matte finish, but the NC button is relabeled as custom to more appropriately define its function. You can use Sony's Headphones Connect app to customize either the noise cancelling toggle or the instant access Google Assistant or Alexa. The right ear cup houses the touchpad for your music controls, which remains very responsive and pretty intuitive to use. The quick attention feature returns, which is still one of my favourite ever features in a pair of headphones, allowing you to cover the ear cup to temporarily lower your music volume and turn on the headphone's microphones to hear your surroundings. Once you remove your hand, the volume returns to normal, and noise cancelling, or whatever listening mode you were using, immediately resumes. It's quick, convenient, and a genuinely useful feature to have. The Mark IVs introduce a couple of new features, the first of which is auto pause. Thanks to new accelerometers and an ambient light sensor, the headphones can detect when they're being worn, and will automatically pause and resume your music accordingly. The feature works very reliably and without a delay. Even simply lifting the left ear cup briefly will pause, and then resume your music. If the headphones detect they're not being worn for a certain amount of time, they can power off automatically to save on battery, so the feature is pretty clever. Of course, we've seen this in other headphones before, like with Sennheiser's Momentum 3 Wireless, but I prefer Sony's implementation since auto pause only kicks in after you manually start your music, giving you time to choose your playlist and volume first, so you don't have your music immediately blaring out as soon as you put the headphones on. Another new and unique feature to the Mark IVs is Speak to Chat, where as soon as you start speaking, the headphones can detect your voice, pause your music, and turn on ambient sound to let you hear your surroundings, sort of like a hands-free quick attention. I'll be honest, I expected this feature to just be a gimmick. I assumed it would have all sorts of problems detecting my voice, and also being triggered by other nearby voices, but I have to admit that my experience so far has been flawless. your music immediately pauses and allows you to have a conversation and listen to your surroundings before automatically resuming playback after a specified time. It's set to 30 seconds by default, but I found the shorter 15-second period to be more convenient, and you can always tap to resume your music if you're ready sooner. You can even set this to focus on voices, so when it activates, it can maintain noise cancelling and just allow voices to pass through the microphones to your ears. We've seen this focus on voice setting before with ambient sound mode, and I still think the headphones struggle to isolate voices only, so I never really use this. But speak to chat triggers within a second of me starting speaking, and at a natural pace and volume too. I don't have to shout over my music to trigger it. What surprised me most was how the headphones were able to activate from my voice only. I even had somebody with a similar voice speaking directly into the headphones from a close distance, but no matter what we tried, we simply could not get the headphones to trigger except by the person actually wearing them. This isn't analysing your specific voice, it's simply working by proximity, and will only trigger for the person wearing them. But it was impressive to see that even nearby and similar voices wouldn't accidentally trigger the feature. Sony will show the classic example of someone going into a coffee shop and using speak to chat to order a drink without ever taking the headphones off. Personally, I'm the kind of person who'll take their headphones off anyway, but it's great to see you could do this if you wanted to, and there are plenty of other scenarios where this type of hands-free control will be useful. So my overall impression is that speak to chat is a surprisingly effective and handy new feature. Of course, for the times you don't want to hear your surroundings, there's Sony's class-leading active noise cancelling, and I think I can make this pretty simple by saying that these are the best noise cancelling headphones you can buy. They block out a decent amount of noise passively, but turning on ANC takes this to a whole new level, and no other headphones can block out as much noise as these do. The Mark IVs use a new Bluetooth audio system on chip to improve upon the already excellent noise cancelling performance of the previous model. I compared the Mark III and IV side by side, and I do think the Mark IVs perform slightly better, particularly with higher frequencies. But to be honest, it is really tough to tell the difference, and I think when you have to listen this carefully to hear the difference, then it shows that owners of the Mark IIIs don't need to upgrade to the new model just for better ANC. Both of these pairs of headphones are just a cut above the rest, and it probably comes as no surprise that Sony have maintained their lead. Without wanting to tread on familiar ground from my Mark III review, I also want to touch on the extra features found in the companion app, because there have been some changes. Signing into the app, you'll notice that Sony is really pushing the 360-degree reality audio experience, which is based on Sony's spatial audio tech, and is supposed to provide a more immersive experience. I've tried this before with the Mark IIIs, and it is pretty interesting. But because of the limited music services the feature works with, excluding the likes of Spotify and Apple Music, it's never been anything to write home about. Sony have even removed the sound position control and surround sound features from the app, presumably because this is now all rolled into the 360 reality side of things, but you can still access both of these features on the Mark IIIs. I also want to mention adaptive sound control, the feature that automatically adapts the noise cancelling level based on your activity and environment. This of course isn't a new feature, and in fact we even saw this back in the Mark II review, but thanks to various improvements to the Sense engine, this is now much faster at detecting the change in environment and switching the noise cancelling mode. Back in the Mark II review, I found the feature clever, but too slow to be realistically practical. Fast forward to late 2020, and adaptive sound control might now be genuinely useful for having automatic and hands-free control of the listening modes, especially for commuters or those catching a flight. The headphones can even now learn from frequently visited locations to optimise the automatic switching. But I should stress that all of these adaptive sound control improvements are also available via software updates on older models like the Mark IIIs. I just thought it was only fair to give an updated review based on the new improvements. Otherwise, we just have returning features from the Mark IIIs, such as the custom equalizer and the atmospheric pressure optimizer, another feature that alongside the great ANC performance make these the best headphones to use whilst travelling. Even with all of these shared features, I did notice some small refinements with the Mark IVs, such as powering on and switching noise cancelling modes faster, and the voice prompts now sound much more natural. I personally turn off voice prompts to make changing the noise cancelling modes faster, but this still keeps important prompts like powering on and off, connecting to devices, and using the power button to give you a battery update. Ideally though, I'd still have some kind of quick tone or beep to tell me which noise cancelling mode I'm on, an option which headphones like Sennheiser's Momentum 3 offer. One thing that hasn't changed though is the battery life, and Sony maintains the respectable 30-hour playback time, or 38 hours with ANC turned off. You can get 5 hours of playback from a quick 10 minutes fast charge, and I found the total charging time to be closer to 2 hours than the stated 3. Your mileage may vary depending on your device, listening mode, and playback volume, but in general, the Mark IV's battery and charging performance was pretty impressive. Getting into connectivity, this is the area where most people wanted to see some improvements, and Sony starts things off by bumping the Mark IVs up to Bluetooth 5, which the Mark IIIs really should have come with in the first place. Comparing the two side by side, I did notice I was able to stretch the range a little bit further with the new Mark IVs, especially when trying to stay connected through multiple walls and obstacles. The latency is still reliably low on both iOS and Android, so these are great headphones for watching videos. But in a really unusual move, Sony removed the aptX codecs from the Mark IVs, so there's no more support for aptX or aptX HD. This won't affect iPhone users, but for Android users, these would have likely been the main codecs you'd want to use, and though the headphones still sound good using AAC, it just seems bizarre that Sony would downgrade the headphones from the previous model. They still support Sony's LDAC though, for ultra-high bitrate transfer. In the past I've had mixed performance in terms of connection stability, and it can be tough to really hear the difference in quality, but it's there for those who want the highest quality streaming as possible. But the main talking point, and probably most requested feature for the Mark IVs, is Multipoint. Yes, Sony's headphones can finally be connected to two devices at the same time, so for those with a multi-device setup, this might be the biggest improvement with the headphones. You can now listen to music on one device, but still receive notifications or phone calls from another, and this works whether your second device is a computer, tablet, or another smartphone. There seems to be some teething issues though, such as occasional dropouts and latency when the second device is a computer, and also how long it takes to switch over to the other device when listening to music. You have to pause on the first device before pressing play on the other, and it takes a few seconds before you'll actually hear your audio coming through. I sometimes had to wait up to 10 seconds for the headphones to switch over, and yes, your music or podcast continues silently playing whilst you're waiting. It's obviously not a deal breaker, and this is how most multipoint devices work, but when you've experienced the fantastic and seamless multipoint performance of Sennheiser's Momentum 3s, it does make you want this to be quicker. With the Momentum 3s, you can just tap play on the other device and it immediately switches over. You don't have to pause first, and you don't get that audio delay. So Sony's Multipoint is far from best in class, and I expect we'll see some software updates later down the line, but it's great to see this finally added to the new Mark IVs. But getting back to phone calls, this is another area I think has been improved from the Mark IIIs. There's not a huge difference in quality, and more often than not, you won't be able to tell the difference, but I usually found my voice was a bit louder with the Mark IVs. Switching over to the Mark IIIs, it's pretty tough to tell the difference, but I think I can notice a slight drop in volume and clarity. So I think the Mark IV's microphones are slightly better overall, but I don't think you need to upgrade just for better phone call quality. Both of these headphones do a good job of cancelling out outside noise though, and callers were often unable to hear loud sounds like vacuuming or passing traffic, so phone call performance was pretty good overall. And finally we arrive at audio quality, where things are largely unchanged from the Mark IIIs, with the Mark IVs using the same 40mm drivers as before. The only significant change is with Sony's new digital sound enhancement engine, which uses AI to dynamically recognise and upscale compressed audio files in real time. The upscaling is supposed to restore high-range sound that's lost in the compression process, but I couldn't tell much of a difference from before. I personally quite like Sony's sound signature, which leans a little over to the warmer side without becoming too bass-heavy, offering a very rich and full-bodied sound. Of course, Sony's built-in equalizer offers a great range of different sound styles, and the custom EQ lets you fine-tune the sound to your own preference. The bass is deep and powerful, but the mid-range remains clear, and there's a wide and detailed soundstage here. In short, these are still one of the best sounding pairs of headphones you can buy, but there's not a big change from the Mark IIIs. Compared to Sennheiser's Momentum 3 wireless, you can tell that Sony doesn't quite have the same crisp highs. The Momentum 3s have more separation, and a better reproduction of the higher frequencies, so they sound brighter and more detailed. As much as I like Sony's warmer tone, Sennheiser offers objectively better audio quality, but the quality at this level is so high that it's really a case of the sound signature that defines each of these headphones, so you can decide between them based on your listening preference. So how much money will Sony's latest headphones set you back? Well, the Mark IVs are retailing for $350 or £350, and since the headphones are brand new, you might struggle to find them at discounted prices. As expensive as these headphones are, Sony's 1000X series have always been amongst those that actually justify their high retail price, and the Mark IVs are no exception. They sound great, are very comfortable, and are packing some of the most sophisticated smart technology in the industry, boasting unrivaled noise-cancelling performance. So if you can't wait for these to come down in price, your $350 would be well spent on these fantastic headphones. But we also shouldn't forget just how good the Mark IIIs still are, and thanks to significant price drops, I'd say that these offer better value for money. There are even a few added benefits, such as the sound position control feature and support for the aptX codecs, and a price difference this big makes it hard to justify the newer model. Ultimately, the Mark IVs are just an iteration of an already excellent product, and the best parts of the headphones can still be found in the Mark IIIs. Unless you've been desperately waiting for Bluetooth 5 or multipoint connectivity, I don't think the Mark IVs offer enough to warrant an upgrade from the Mark IIIs, and for those considering both pairs of headphones, I'd still have to recommend the Mark IIIs at these prices. In terms of the competition, most companies are playing catch-up, but there are other options worth considering. The introduction of Multipoint was a feature I specifically asked for in my Mark III review, but I couldn't help but miss the fluidity of the instant device switching with Sennheiser's Momentum 3 Wireless, which still offer the best multipoint experience I've ever used. Then you've also got Jabra's cheaper Elite 85H, which are unique with their sweat and water resistance, so you can keep listening to your music even if it starts to rain. You've just got to ask yourself what specific features are most important to me before making your decision. But what's clear to me is that Sony's new WH-1000X Mark IV are the best ANC headphones money can buy. If you have any questions about the new Mark IV headphones, then please leave them down in the comments section and I'll do my best to get back to you. Let me know what you think about these headphones and if you think there's a better pair out there. For now though, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.